Aaron. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, no dramas. Obviously making the most of the situation that we're all in, but spirits is high and everything's going well.
Brilliant. Well, glad to hear that. We've had a great response from the Yellow Army when we asked if there was any questions for you. So we'll begin with Thomas, who said, what is your best memory in a Torquay shirt during your playing career, Aaron?
The first couple of games were obviously very good. I really enjoyed, I think I got 2 goals in 3 or 4 games at the start of my career there. So it's always important to make an impact when you come in, especially I come in quite late. I didn't sign until late July, I think it was, of pre-season. So it was important that I hit the ground running, which I did. Unfortunately, I ended up with a red card, I think, in one of the games early on. But so it was a good start to the season for us. There's sort of 2 moments, I would say, that was, well, a couple. It's hard to say. Scoring away at Plymouth was a great moment. I was gutted that we didn't hang on. We conceded late on in the game on Boxing Day. It was an early kickoff. It was like a 12 o'clock kickoff. So that was a really good moment. So I enjoyed scoring in front of the Torquay fans away at Argyle. So that was a nice moment. A weird one, but I remember beating Morecambe away on the second last game of the season to stay up. Obviously, it was against one of my best mates, Barry Roach. So I think that was a highlight for a different reason. Obviously, staying up, you want to win things. But also, I remember beating Exeter City on a Monday night live on Sky, 1-0 away at Exeter. So them 3 are sort of big highlights for me as when I was a player. I enjoyed them 3 games.
Well, you've mentioned both of the local rivals there, so I think that's going to go down very well with the Yellow Army there, Aaron.
Oh, it's important. Local derbies are massive. They're so important for the fans, but for the players as well. And you really can make a name for yourself. And you're not always in to do that. You want to try and give the fans sort of the local bragging right. So it is a really important games. And I was lucky that at the time when I was playing in the league in League 2, we had Exeter and Plymouth and us all in the same league. So it made for some great away days and great home games for the fans and for us players.
You had a couple of prestigious pre-season friendlies, didn't you, that coincided with the opening of Bristow's bench? I think it was Stoke City and Leeds United came to Plainmoor as well, didn't they?
Yeah, and I'm a Leeds fan, so it was a real highlight when I joined. I was like, oh wow, look, we've got Leeds pre-season. I thought that's great. So they were really good games. I mean, I remember Leeds brought about 1,500, 2,000 fans to a pre-season game. So it was great. And obviously Stoke, it was. There's a photo somewhere, and I can't remember it. It was Peter Crouch stood next to Denny Stevens, and it looked like David and Goliath. It was a little bit like giant and. Poor old Danny, little fella. But no, it was both really good games, yeah.
Well, well done to the photographer for getting both of those players in the same shot. So it's
yeah, it was from far away.
Well, our next question comes from Zach. As a former centre-half at the club, obviously we're in need for an experienced centre-half. Do you get involved in identifying the right players? You've been a pretty good centre-half yourself. And what qualities do you look for? It's a good question there from Zach. Thank you very much for that one.
Yeah, cheers, Zach. Yes, to all of them really. I get involved, and obviously Pete, the gaffer's brother, the head of recruitment, Pete, he spends hours and hours, going out to games, 3, 4, 5 games a week, sometimes, and numerous hours on the internet prowling for defenders. So he'll chuck names up to me, and I'm in a fortunate position that I've only retired sort of 2-3 years ago. So a lot of the defenders that are coming up, I've kind of played against or with. So sometimes it's nice to have that inside information and be able to tell Pete and the gaffer sort of my view. And obviously, as a ex-centre-half myself, the qualities you're looking for varies depending on what you've got and what you need. So at this present time, it's no secret that an experienced defender would would definitely benefit us to help out with obviously Kyle Cameron and Louis Slough, who's coming through, and also Ben Winter, who's coming into his own now, but he still need a little bit of help. Obviously we've got Des at left back that's experienced himself, so it's no secret that we are looking for that experienced centre half. At this level, you need to be able to deal aerially with teams, because you get teams that'll come to you and knock it up to the big lad and get people around it. So someone that can win that first contact, and also it's important aerially that you win both boxes at this level. So defending set plays, defending crosses at one end, but also vice versa at the other end, going and getting your head on a few and knocking a few in the goal for us, because it's gold dust if your centre half can go and get 5, 6, 7 goals a season. So they're sort of the attributes you're looking for. You also still need someone that's going to be able to play, but we're not necessarily a team that's going to always play out from the back. But there's times we need our centre halves to start the attacks for us. So everything. There's a lot that goes into it, and if I told you every single attribute we needed, then we're obviously looking for Rio Ferdinand. So I'm not sure if he's available yet, but yeah. So there's a lot of work goes into it, and there's factors like location, like finances, like players' families, things like that all come into it. There's a lot that so it's a lot of work, a lot of talk, and a lot of phone calls, a lot of watching that goes into any one signing. And then obviously the background checks on them, whether they're what they're doing at the weekends, things like that. What's their sort of lifestyle outside of football? What's their interests? There's a lot that goes into it to develop, because it's also the character that you need. But yeah, so I do get involved, and they're just a couple of key aspects that would help us move forward.
Does being a right footer or a left footer come into it at all?
Sometimes, but I played majority of my career on the left side, left side centre back, and I'm a right footer. So it just depends on what you're comfortable with and how good your weaker foot is. So that does, sometimes come into it. But if you've got, as a centre half, it's not so much as it is, say, of a fullback or a winger.
Yeah.
As far as the foot, you can kind of, same as midfielders. You can have 2 right-footed midfielders, 2 left-footed midfielders. So they can interchange a little bit more. Centre halves are more obviously, staying to the left or the right side, but you can get away with it a little bit more. You can sort of just pass it to your left back if you need to to get yourself out of trouble. So, and most players at this level should be comfortable enough to use their weaker foot to get them out of trouble.
Yeah, really interesting insight. Thanks for that, Aaron. Right, Chris is next. Chris says, amongst all this current turmoil, he thinks this question is more relevant. How do you keep players in the lower league well motivated at this time? And he goes on to say the story of the stars of the Premiership don't have the same money issues that players at Torquay United may have, which makes it a little bit more of a struggle for our players. A level of security matters to most people, and in this chosen sport, it can be a big ask. So how do you keep players in the lower leagues well motivated at this time?
There's a couple of things. First of all, a lot of credit must go to the football club, Clark and George, especially for and obviously Mel for their help in keeping 90% of the players on, this season. So that has obviously helped the players settle down, and we've been able to sign the players that we needed to, and keep the nucleus of the squad, which we feel was very close last year. And we're quite excited about the season coming up, as and when obviously it is able to start. So a lot of credit must go to that, because that settled a lot of the boys down, and obviously keeps them motivated. And what it's done is obviously made them grateful, and which will motivate them in that respect. So in that security that it brings for them knowing that at least got another year here, and they can pay the bills and look after their family and live and whatnot. So that's a big part of it. So really appreciate that from the club to do that. And what that'll do in turn is it will buy the lads will be indebted to the club. They'll feel and they'll hopefully should produce better outcome in performance-wise for us and dedication and commitment, which the players have that in abundance, anyways. But also in motivating, the manager always talks about signing. If you want to motivate a player, sign a player who can be motivated.
Yeah. And
these players can be. When you speak to them, they can be inspired, but they've got a lot of self-motivation in them. And you have to be resilient to be a footballer at this level. Everyone understands the perils that's involved with being at this level. It's no 4 or 5 year contracts. Majority of the time, it's 1 and 2 year deals. If you're lucky, it's 2 years. Generally, it's 1 year, and the money is okay. Yeah, definitely, it's comfortably livable, but it's not going to set you up for life. It's so you understand sort of what you get involved in when you become a footballer, and it can be difficult, it can be tough, but like I say, the players are very dedicated and motivated to improve themselves. And that's what you look for as far as the attributes, going back to the previous question, when you're looking to sign players. And that's a generalisation of all players. Obviously, for centre-halves, there's a few different key elements you're looking for individually. But as far as a general character, you are looking for someone who can be motivated and has got that self-drive and motivation in them. So for us, it's just about, in this period, I'll summarise now, I'll sum up, but it's about trying to keep them positive and get them focusing on the season ahead, monitoring them as much as we can whilst we're under the furlough agreement. Without going into too much detail with them, we have to still keep an eye on them, phoning them, making sure that they know that we care about them, and we will help them in any way we can, which obviously gives them that little bit of security and extra motivation. And what the manager does is sets out clear goals and targets for them once we come back, and for the season ahead. So when we do chat to them, when we do speak to Adam, there is a target and a goal in mind. So we're all motivated to achieve that and do that goal for next season. So that motivation now, we all know it's a long season ahead. So that's one way that we're keeping them motivated at the minute, is setting out clear targets and plans for them.
Yeah, I mean, it does help that they do seem a naturally ambitious bunch, don't they? The players that we've got here at the moment.
Absolutely, and the older pros in Asa and Des, they keep the younger ones a little bit grounded, but also keep them on track as well. So the dynamic in the group is quite good, and like I say, they're all ambitious as a team as much as individuals.
Thank you very much for that. So Patrick's the next one. He's got a question here. It says here, firstly, do you remember when I beat you at the offside trap to score in the Damon Lathrop charity match at Plainmoor? So I don't know if that brings back any memories. He goes on to say, I remember it very well. I had you in my pocket the whole game. A little bit of banter there, I think, Aaron. Secondly, in the same vein, who's the best striker that you've played against and why?
No, I don't remember it, because it must have happened to me a few times in my career over the years. So I try and block them out. The strikers beating the offside trap with me. I wasn't quick enough, so I sort of did the Tony Adams where his hand up and referee. It was a poor referee decision. You were definitely offside. But no, good man. Like I say, I hope you enjoyed the day. The best centre forward I played against. There's been a few. Obviously, you're quite lucky in this country with cup games. You get to sort of, so long as you do okay in the cups, you get to pick your wits against some higher level teams. You talk about the Leeds and the Stoke games in pre-season, for instance, but in the real competitive FA Cup games or Carling Cup games, there's been some good strikers I've come up against. I remember we played Man City, West Ham, Charlton one year. So in the likes of that, there was, in the Man City team with Paul Dickov and players like that. And then the West Ham, it was Teddy Sheringham. I remember he come on with about 20 minutes to go, and he was about 38 at the time, I think, but he was a different level as far as his intelligence and his movement and his things he'd do. It was just things that come to him naturally, was just, you know, a different level to anything we played against. And then against Charlton, the centre forward pair was Darren Bent and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. So I'd probably say Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was one of the best played against. He scored a hat-trick on the day, I think. But like I said previously, I'm a Leeds United supporter, so playing against Hasselbank was a bit of a hero of mine growing up. You know, with obviously doing so well at Leeds. So playing against him was very tough. You know, his movement, his pace, his aggression to score a goal was so evident. You know, and taught me a lesson or two, that's for sure. We drew 3-3 with them actually, and lost on penalties in the quarterfinals. So it was a good run, you know, we had in the Carling Cup. But yeah, so I'd probably say Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank.
Well, it's just a shame that all three of those goals were offside, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And he also says here, who's the best striker that you've played with then?
Again, a fair few strikers I've played with. You know, one that the Torquay supporters will know is Jamie Ward, was a great striker for us, and we ended up selling him for, I think it was 300 grand to Sheffield United. But one of the best all-round players I played with was probably Jack Lester at Chesterfield. He was brilliant. Everything about him was different to most players you play with. He was so aggressive. He was so desperate to score and to win. Great banter as well, but he really had a mean streak in him, you know, and a devilment in him that you need. And he inspired you, but he dragged you along with him. And, you know, if you weren't performing, he was the first one to come in and, in no uncertain terms, tell you what he thought, which was great for me as I was actually captain at the time, but he definitely led by example. And, you know, he was very good. He was one of them that you give it to him inside the box and he could twist and turn and chop you and also put it in. He was fantastic for 3 or 4 years while I was at my final 3 or 4 years at Chesterfield. He was brilliant and obviously went on to, he had a great career at Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United, and with Chesterfield went on to win the league and win the trophy, the FA, the Football League trophy, the Checker Trade, I think it's called now. So he was very good, Jack, and they've obviously, they've retired his number now at Chesterfield, so that just goes to show the kind of esteem he's held in at Chesterfield. So I'd probably say Jack Lester for his all-round, for off the pitch and on the pitch, as far as, his all-round game was very good.
Yeah, you mentioned Jamie Ward there, who's another name that'll be familiar to Torquay fans for his spell at Plainmoor. Right, Joseph is the next person that's got a question here. Out of all the central defenders that you've played alongside, who would your best partner be and why?
Again, it's difficult to say just the one, because it's I've played alongside. There's a few I could throw out, and then I'll make my choice. So early on in my career, I was fortunate enough to play with Ian Evans, Steve Blatherwick, and then Ian Brecken. So they're three centre-halves that taught me a lot. And also Rob Page, some great centre-halves that I've played with, really. And they're all experienced at the time, so it taught me a lot. I was fortunate enough to play under Roy McFarlane, who was obviously a very good centre-half, which Torquay supporters will know. Also, the latter stage of my Chesterfield career was Ruben Hazel, which a lot of Torquay fans will know of. He won the league with Torquay. And then I really enjoyed my spell with Brian Starr at Torquay. So I think I've been asked this question a few times, but I think I'd probably go with Ruben Hazel, who suited me better as far as I really enjoyed playing with him because he was sensible, he was intelligent, he allowed me to go and just be that, dominant, win the ball, head it, kick it, do whatever. But he would sweep up behind, he would cover. He's a great technical player. He could play right back or centre half. But he allowed me to go and play my natural game and we just complemented each other, I felt. So I really enjoyed playing with Ruben, and he spoke very well, and encouraged me. He was a very good player, Ruben, so I enjoyed playing with him. So I'd say, yeah, probably Ruben Hazel.
Yeah, very good player indeed. Joseph also says, if you could have played alongside anybody, any central defender in your playing career, who would you have chosen?
Oh, wow.
You've given Ruben quite a good write-up there, so it's going to have to be someone to beat him, to be fair.
Well, any centre-half is
yeah.
I mean, well, obviously there's millions of them. It's hard to say. I mean, you look up to a few. Obviously, I'm assuming he means any centre half in any league. So, you know, we're talking people like John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, players like that. I think I'd probably go Rio Ferdinand as a Leeds fan, even though he betrayed us and went to Man United. But he was brilliant, Rio Ferdinand, as far as just oozed class. You know, he could go and head it. He was strong, but technical ability of him, the pace, he was so quick, read the game well. There was no wonder that he was the most expensive defender when he was bought by Man United from Leeds United. You know, because he really was a different class. So if I could play with anyone, I really would have enjoyed playing with Rio Ferdinand, I think.
Yeah, you're saying it through gritted teeth, but we believe you, Aaron, there. All right. Right, Jake's next up. He says, I feel an experienced centre-back to play alongside Kyle is needed. What would it take for you to get your boots back on? You were a great player for us back in the day.
It'd probably take 2 new knees and maybe a new wife. And maybe a new gaffer as well. I think I join in with training with the lads every now and then when the gaffer needs a few numbers, and when we're doing something a little bit less serious, like just having a 5-a-side or something, I'll join in, and I enjoy it. I miss playing, as everybody does, but my time's been and gone, and you know, as much as I'd love to pull me boots and my shin pads back on, I think that time's gone. I think my knees wouldn't hold up for that. I think maybe I'm just fit enough. But like I say, I don't need my body for the end of it, especially not a full season. So you might get 1 or 2 games out of me, then I'll probably be on Kai's physio bed, unfortunately. So, but I appreciate that. But yeah, like I say, an experience enough is needed, but unfortunately, I don't think it'll be me.
Well, it sounds like an invitation for a few 5-a-side football teams out there once that all starts back up. Anyway, then. Right, Graham is next. He says the retained list is now public, and it's been said of Carl Cameron that he is a developing player. In a bid to firm up the central defence, what sort of player do you see playing alongside Kyle next season, whenever that is? Now, obviously, we've touched upon, you know, the type of defenders that you're looking for. Is there any key assets in particular that you think would complement Kyle, rather than a player perhaps that's got the same attributes or similar attributes as Kyle?
I'd echo the comments that Kyle is developing a little bit, but I think this season's been great for Kyle. I really do. I think he's learned a lot. I think he's played a lot of games at this level, which has been great for his experience. It's going to hold him in good stead. And you've got to remember, centre-halves come into their own 26, 27, 28 is when they're hitting their... Well, apologies. I've got someone on phone calling me there. Centre-halves come into their own when they're sort of 26, 27, 28, I was saying, and you know, so he's still got a few years under his belt to really before he hits his peak. So I think, like we've talked about, an experienced centre-half would help him. But in saying that, I think there was some great games that, you know, Robbie Cundy and Kyle played together with their partnership that was going really well at one stage, where we won 8 of 9 games, you know. So, and we were keeping clean sheets and we were defending very well. So there was moments that them two both played really well. It's just about getting that consistency. I think, pardon me, bringing in a experienced centre half will definitely help Kyle in the fact of a communication. Now, Kyle's a good communicator, but what he is he cares and he's passionate as well about defending. And sometimes we spoke about this, that he can worry a lot about the rest of the unit. Yeah. And it's difficult. It takes experience and it takes time to get the balance right between performing really well yourself and also worrying about the other players. And like I say, that comes with knowing your game and understanding your game. And when you're learning your game still, sometimes it can take the you worrying about everybody else can take away your own personal performance sometimes. So if he was to play alongside a more experienced centre half that would take on sort of that pressure and free him up, I really think would see him flourish. I really do. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be an experienced centre half, because I think Kyle's got the ability to still play well and, you know, organise at the same time. Like I said, this season stood him in good stead for that. But I think, you know, we're still yet to see the best of Kyle. And I think alongside, you know, like Liam Davis and Ben Winter, and then, you know, another season campaigner alongside Kyle would definitely bring the best out of him. But if he weren't to get a season experience centre half, I still think Kyle next season's really going to flourish, and we're going to see a different side to him, because he's a very good player, Kyle, and he's got a lot of great attributes. His attributes are things that I wish I had when I was a player, you know, because he's got pace, he's got good size, strength, he's got technical ability, you know, he can hit an unbelievable diag, good passing range. So he's got all the attributes to stand him in good stead to really improve next season, I feel. And I say anyone coming in playing alongside him will help us.
I think it's worth remembering as well is that although he has played over 100 senior games, he's still, you know, very young for a central defender. And that was the season that's just gone was his first full season at National League level.
Yeah, and there were some great performances from him.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, like I say, he's done a lot of learning this season. But he's also performed really well and been a key part in some of our good runs, you know, that we had. So, you know, I feel a little bit of consistency added to his game, which he knows about, which we spoke about, and that comes with experience. And the only way you're going to get experience is by making the odd mistake. I went through that myself. The best defenders go through that. I was watching a Rio Ferdinand clip the other day, and here's me singing his praises. I was watching, it was Match of the Day. I don't know if people watch it. It's me going on, but Match of the Day, and it was Phil Neville's greatest games, and it was Man City versus Man United, and Rio Ferdinand made an absolute howl. He tried to chip on the halfway line, tried to chip, I think it was one of the Man City strikers, and then they ran through and scored. So, and he was 25, 26 at the time. So even the best defenders make mistakes. It's part of it, same as goalkeepers. It's part and parcel of learning. And the only way you're going to get that is by playing. And Carl's, like I say, he's in this season stood him in good stead, definitely.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to highlight one of Rio's mistakes when he was at Man United rather than Leeds.
Yeah,
but,
well, the best defender in the world at the time.
But it also, just to finish off on Carl, there is that he was also the regular defender because we had a lot of injuries at the back, and that wouldn't have helped the consistency at the back. And in the circumstances, did an admirable job back there.
Absolutely.
Right. So Steve here says, before coming to England, you attended the Australian Institute of Sport. What was that like from a footballer's perspective?
Fantastic. It was really good. It was, you know, my equivalent of a YTS, but it was so much better because the Australian Institute of Sport it brings together 20 of the perceived best young footballers, soccer players in the country. So from all over Australia, the country, they all come together into Canberra at the AIS and live together for 2 years, go to school and play football every day. So it was brilliant. Things that clubs are only coming up to date with now that we were doing 15, 16 years ago. You know, they were really at the peak of performance as far as technology as well. You know, things that you took for granted after you left. You know, things like massages and the physiotherapy sort of things. And I know massages sounds like, we've been doing that for years, but the thought that there was on site 20 massage therapists there every single day, and the facilities that we have, you know, the recovery that we did, the food that we ate, the sports science that we had, everything was right at the top of performance. So it really was an eye opener for me, and it really paved the way I think as far as, you know, how to get the best out of people. And it was a fantastic experience 2 years for me, and the coaches were very good, very experienced, brought through. If you look at the roll call from the players who have come through the Australian Institute of Sport soccer program, it's the who's who of Australians, like sort of best. There's only Tim Cahill and Harry Kewell that didn't come through it. As far as, and I know they're probably two of our best players, but they just 90% of the players went on to play for Australia and have careers in the game, and so it just goes to show that the grounding that it gives you. So it was a fantastic experience for me, and I'm really, really sorry to see that it's and sad to see that it's been defunct now, the program, and they go on sort of a European English route as far as academy programs in clubs rather than having a national program, because it was fantastic for me. It really was, and it, like I say, it gave me a great grounding and taught me a lot of life lessons as well as football lessons. And I really grew up in those 2 years, and it stood me in good stead for when I come over as an 18-year-old to England to try and make a career.
Yeah, well researched, Steve, for picking up on that one. That was a good one. Peter's next up here. Peter says it's a simple one here: Ken Sutcliffe or Daryl Eastlake? I think they're both Australian sports presenters. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, it's an easy one there. Cheers. Ken Sutcliffe all day long, because Ken's a local Mudgee boy like myself. So he's a hero in the town that I grew up in, Mudgee, which is a small country town in central New South Wales, in the western region. Great wines, if anyone wants to go there. Great wine country. It's a lot of vineyards. But Mudgee, a little fun fact for you, is it stands for Nest in the Hills. It's an Aboriginal word called Nest in the Hills, and it really is. It's beautiful. And so Ken Sutcliffe all day long, absolute legend. Channel 9, Wide World Sport presenter. So, and like I say, a fellow Mudgee boy. So all day long, Ken Sutcliffe. Excellent.
And unusual question, that one. So I'm glad that you picked up on that to do a little bit of research before I knew what that one was about. Right, so Fred here's got a question as well. He says that the last season, such as it was the most personally frustrating one for many a year. 50 years of Torquay, seen some poor seasons as well as some good ones. We play attractive football, but looking at the season stats, we let in too many goals. On too many occasions, the defence was torn apart, lacked by form of structure, and felt that we were bullied against opposing forwards. If we just shut out the 1-0 losses, we could have been in the top 4, and on average, we let in 1.7 goals per game. Only 4 teams conceded more than. So he's done quite a bit of statistical research, as Fred. Arguably, being our best and most experienced defender in the last 20 years, how do you account for this? So thank you for the question, Fred.
Cheers, Fred. Thanks for that. Obviously, it's no secret that last year we scored a lot, but we did let a lot in. And what we must remember is defending. And this is coming from a defender, but defending it's a team game. Obviously, there's individual errors that account to that, and that can't really be legislated for. And I feel that there was maybe a few too many of them last year at times as well. But it is, we must defend as a team, as a unit. That's defence, midfield, and attack. So, what was the actual question with the stats?
It was just whether how do we account for the amount of goals that were let in last season? So the fact is, we played a lot of attacking, attractive football. Right. But if we turned around a few of the 1-0 losses, we could have been in the top 4.
Yeah, and I understand the frustration. It is frustrating for everybody. I'm not sure it's the most frustrating season in 50 odd years. I beg to differ with that, but it definitely was a very frustrating season for us all, because the reason being is we've seen the potential that we have and not necessarily fulfilled that. And that is another great reason why we've kept the squad together, because we feel that everybody's going to be a lot better for the season that we've had. We'll learn from the mistakes and the errors that have cost us in a few games, and the players will have gained a lot of experience from the season just gone. So that is a positive, definitely. Defending comes down to a lot of repetition at times in training. So that's something that we can improve on, and we will be doing, and we will be doing a lot more repetition in drills, and it's what you've highlighted, Fred, and is definitely something that we're conscious of. So what you're saying is not nothing that we don't know anyways, but I understand the frustration for supporters watching it, thinking, oh, if only we could grind out a 1-0. You know, if we grind out 1-0s every week, then obviously we're easily going to get promoted, and that's everyone's aim. But you've also got to appreciate other teams are trying to. They're desperately hard to score goals, so inevitably you're not going to never not concede goals. But we do feel that the clean sheets this season weren't enough, and I'm not going to blame injuries because you don't like to blame things. But if you've got a settled back four on a regular basis, then that gives you a lot more continuity and a lot more people know each other second nature, and the relationships are really important in defending. So we'd like to think that this season coming up we can keep a settled back four and defensive unit if we can. Obviously, you know, players are going to change. You're not going to get everyone playing 46 games throughout the whole season, but you know, the work that we do on the training ground, I feel is going to come to fruition in this season ahead. You know, I think also the inexperience of the two centre halves through the season, you know, inevitably is going to affect our goals against at times. Again, I'm repeating myself in saying that it is standing us in good stead, definitely. So so just to sort of summarise is that, you know, we will be working definitely as we always do on the training ground, but I feel the experience we've gained is definitely going to stand us in good stead.
Brilliant. Thanks for answering that, Aaron. Right, the final question comes from another Peter, and it says here, as a supporter of 53 years or so, there have been many times where I've seen very good, great teams or squads break up with the cream of the squad poached and moving on with the quality drop-off resulting in struggle. With our biggest asset now on his way, how do you see a way to stop this cycle, and where do you think the squad balance should be between experience, inexperience and youth, and getting a squad together with enough quality to challenge? So obviously maybe the experience we've possibly touched on already, perhaps, but I would imagine that that Peter is mentioned the departure of Jamie, and obviously scored a lot of great goals for us last season, and how we're going to look to replace him.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you again for the question. I feel the balance has been quite okay. We've been one of the younger teams squads in the division as far as age, but you also got to think that you know, we're keeping the nucleus of squad together, so we're all a year older with that experience I spoke about, but also, you know, you add in the Liam Davis, Asa Hall. They give us that little bit of experience in the group. Also, Lucas is now a year older. Obviously, he's 26, but he's also a year old. You know, he's gained a year of experience at this level, which is the first year he's had at this level. So, you know, there'll be more to come from him. Likewise with Sean, another year under his belt with us. So, I think with one or two players that we bring in the summer, well, more than one or two, but in the summer, that, you know, I think that balance will be very good. So that shouldn't be a problem. As far as obviously squads breaking up, we've been fortunate enough to keep the nucleus of our squad. Obviously, you know, losing Reedy this year is you know, it's frustrating and annoying, and you know, we wish him all the best wherever he goes or whatever he does. Obviously, but he's been a great servant to the football club. But we also remember that he's scored a lot of goals under the gaffer. And the manager's brought the best out in him. And what the manager does is he gets a game plan and a style of play that's attractive football that scores a lot of goals. So any striker that comes into the football club is going to be in a position to score a lot of goals. He's going to have chances. We're going to create chances. So although people might think, oh, we're losing 20 odd goals a season in Reedy, when we bring somebody else in, they're going to also have that potential to be a 20 or 25, 30 goal scorer a season as well. So you look at the Gaffer's previous, you go back to, Yeovil days with Paddy Madden, you go back to Cheltenham days with Mo Issa and Danny Wright and Dan Holman. And then obviously when he comes here, Reedy gets 30 odd goals last season, nearly 21, I think, this season. So, 50 odd goals in 2 seasons under the manager, whereas he'd not scored that many before the manager comes. So it just goes to show that whatever striker we're bringing in is going to have that potential to go and get them goals as well. So it'll come down to recruitment, which Pete's got right more times than not, and the manager gets right. The club they back the manager. So I'm quite excited about next season, rather than worrying about the loss of Reedy. I'm quite excited about who we can bring in to then take us to the next level.
It's much more difficult trying to find that goal scorer if you're not creating the chances, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the style of play that the manager, the players really believe in it, and you can see that. And we've got players, like keeping Ben Whitfield, Jake Andrews, play in the attacking line, Amani Little, them players are great players going forward and create chances. And we've spoke to them in this summer about they've got to score a few more goals themselves, and getting a few more numbers on the board themselves. But as far as opportunities being created, this team's going to create them. It's getting that striker that's going to put them in the back of the net, which we know we'll be able to get. So we're not worried. We're actually quite excited.
Yeah, and we are in the positive situation where we're looking to replace 1 or 2 rather than 6 or 7, which would obviously make things a lot more difficult to keep that DNA intact, wouldn't it?
A big thing in being promoted is obviously is a team spirit, and that's what we have in abundance. And so anyone that comes in now, they're going to come into a good group. There's no bad eggs, as they say. There's no one that's trying to get themselves out, or they're all happy to be here. They all want to be here. They're all desperate for success, as are we. They've had a taste of it, most of them, last season in the Conference South. And it's infectious, and you really want to do it again, because those final games on the end of the season, when you do get over the line, it's an amazing feeling, and it really is something that you want to keep doing over and over again. So the boys are desperate for that, as are we, as is the manager. So obviously the lovely background you've got there, Dom. Hopefully next season there'll be one to go the other side of your head.
Excellent. Yes, I'm not sure which will be shining more, the trophy or head. So it's brilliant. Well, thank you very much for answering all those questions, and thank you to the Yellow Army for submitting them to us. It's been very interesting, and as we always say, take care, keep safe, and we'll speak to you all again very, very soon. But thank you very much, Aaron.
Absolutely, and like I say, I'll reciprocate that. Thank you very much to everyone for putting the questions in. Really appreciate it, and I know it's frustrating time for everybody at the minute, but just everyone's just got to think how good that first game's going to be back at Plainmoor, when everyone's together and we can all do what we do on our match day rituals and get back together and see the boys perform and hopefully winning football matches. It would be great to see you all there. I can't wait.